Alright, we have reached Season 15, aka Year 3 of the marathon we call the Al Jean era. Previously, we got a very chaotic transitional year in Season 13. Then in 14, we watched The Simpsons struggle with their own success, in probably the fluffiest and most easygoing set of episodes thus far. The Simpsons were taking the stance of, hey, it's 2002, everything is great, grab another beer. Well, the party's over, Season 14. Here comes your responsible friend, Season 15, to drive you home. Wow, is this analogy ironic, considering this is about to happen? But maybe that's appropriate. This is the year that examined more of the underlying issues, asking the more sobering questions about the characters. Let's put it this way. If Seasons 14 and 15 attended the same Al Jean party, well, Season 15 is the designated driver. This isn't to say that it's this super serious affair and didn't have any fun. Like, we're still talking about an animated sitcom here, folks. This is the season that gave us Pie Man, for goodness sakes. But this wasn't a year about celebrating character success or finding quick fixes to their problems. No, we're gonna kick the characters when they're down, have them struggle with legitimate issues. Maybe not give them the happy ending we might have hoped for. Like, let's look at how some of our ongoing storylines went in Season 15. Homer reconnects with his mother, and she beats her original charges in court, only to get arrested once again, fake her own death, and leave Homer grasping onto hope. Pretty bleak. Artie Ziff returns to The Simpsons' lives, only this time he's totally bankrupt after the dot-com bubble. The last time we see him, he's dating Selma and getting surrounded by criminals. Edna Krabappel and Principal Skinner have their wedding, only for the whole thing to fall apart and Edna breaking things off permanently. Barney, who managed to stay sober for 4 seasons now, finally falls off the wagon for good. And we say goodbye to Snowball 2, run over by Dr. Hibbert and replaced with Snowball 5, who looks just like her. Geez, with them closing the books on all this continuity, I'm surprised this wasn't the year that Kirk and Luann remarried. I guess that would have been too upbeat for Season 15, huh? I observed in the Season 14 retrospective how surprising it was that The Simpsons made such an easygoing season in 2002, which was not an especially carefree time for the United States. In Season 15, the changing times finally started creeping its way into the show. They shifted to larger, more issues-focused episodes that featured the entire town. We'd get things like Fraudcast News, which tackled media conglomeration and how propaganda is spread. Marge versus singles, seniors, childless couples, and teens and gays, where Springfield questions how much to invest in their children. And most notably, Bart Mangled Banner, which satirized the patriotic and dogmatic cultural atmosphere, as well as the government's involvement. We would also get stuff like this over-the-top patriotic song in Simple Simpson, and scattered references to Kabul, Saddam Hussein, and Baghdad in other episodes. The Simpsons is not an aggressive show at all in terms of satirizing current-day events. The Simpsons is not South Park. Doing Bart Mangled Banner in Season 14 would have been out of character for the show's usual approach. Whereas releasing this in May of 2004 is much more The Simpsons' speed. This is another one of those Law and Order years of The Simpsons, where characters constantly seem to be running into the police. Mona Simpson gets arrested twice, Homer gets arrested in England and is almost executed, and arrested again when Artie Ziff sets him up. Bart gets sentenced to time in juvenile hall. Marge goes to jail after a DUI. The whole family gets arrested in Bart Mangled Banner. Hell, even Buddha gets arrested in a fantasy sequence. Congratulations, Lisa and Maggie, you both only got arrested once. That's a real accomplishment this year. You can feel a more fiery attitude this year compared to the last. Springfield is ready to fight again, split themselves into different sides of an issue, or devolve into an angry mob. The parents will destroy Springfield Elementary's casino night, the kids will go on strike after budget cuts. Even babies are ready for their own Woodstock 99 at a roofie concert. From a story perspective, Season 15 reminds me a lot of the Merkin years with its emphasis on more topical affairs with a larger scope. It's an extremely plot-driven year of The Simpsons, you know? Where stuff happens, and that's what forces characters to examine their relationships. For example, let's compare and contrast how Seasons 14 and 15 tackled Homer and Marge's relationship. Season 14 gave us 3 Gays of the Condo and Break My Wife Please, 2 stories where Homer and Marge directly feud with each other, resulting in a grand gesture. Season 15 gave us Diatribe of a Mad Housewife, where Marge writes her frustrations about Homer into her novel. In My Big Fat Geek Wedding, Homer and Marge use Skinner and Edna's relationship to air their grievances. In The Way We Weren't, Marge discovers that Homer was the cause of long-held hurt feelings. In Codependence Day, Marge discovers the only reason she liked drinking was being with her husband. These are each definitely relationship stories, but they are told more indirectly, letting a key plot device carry most of the weight. Less direct conflict, more pent-up frustrations. As a result, their relationship arcs can feel awkward at times, where they'll finish all the flashback stuff or the Skinner and Edna action and have only like 60 seconds to hastily resolve things. I remember in these teen seasons, the fandom starting to feel fatigue from marital crises, and after watching season 15, I get it. These examples aren't even including stuff like Catch 'Em If You Can or their segment in the anthology episode. You definitely get the impression that all the Simpsons writers were in their married phase and just wanted to write about that. From a plot structure perspective, season 15 is on the loosey-goosey side of things, especially when it comes to its unrelated Act 1s. Marge's Oops Patrol t-shirt turns into Homer discovering Mona. The Kitchen Carnival turns into Homer's run-in with a bear. Santa's Little Helper's Puppies turns into a Krusty bar mitzvah story. A trip to the county fair turns into a superhero adventure. A trip to the movies turns into Homer and Marge getting drunk in wine country. A trip to the movies turns into the family discovering Artie Ziff in their attic. The Simpsons is so committed to its unrelated Act 1s that Diatribe of a Mad Housewife does it twice. Oh, it's gonna be a B-plot about Homer selling used cars. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, he's gonna drive an ambulance. To be fair, I wouldn't say that season 15 jerked us around that much with these Act 3 sudden shifts. Really, it's only the Skinner-Edna episode that goes off in a weird direction. By Act 2, they've generally locked in what they're doing. But there's definitely a feeling of, where the heck is this story going, to most of the first acts. From a jokes perspective, I don't think things changed very much between seasons 14 and 15. We're still getting a warmer and less edgy brand of humor, taking fewer random plot shots and relying more on observational jokes, situation comedy, and wordplay. If you're looking for wacky and absurd humor, season 15 isn't going to be the place to look. Most of the cuckoo banana stuff they sectioned off in their thought bubbles and fantasy sequences, not bringing them into the real world. They do some surreal material, like this tobacco industry devil, this rubber band airline, lightning striking Sir Ian McKellen, and these magical horses. But if things are getting wacky, they're more apt to go for an action sequence or a pain gag. I actually forgot about how much slapstick they cram into season 15. Maybe I forgot because they stopped going for the gross out visual moments these days. I think season 15 improved its screw the audience game. I wasn't especially impressed by the subversive jokes last time, but this go round, they did a better job keeping the audience guessing. I really like this one where Homer's going to wake Bart to go on his adventure, and it turns out Bart is already there. And while I absolutely hate Codependence Day, this gag, where the car is already upside down, always catches me off guard. There's also this moment at the Roofie concert where it looks like Chief Wiggum is clubbing a bunch of babies, but then it turns out that... oh, wait a minute. Actually, they were clubbing babies. I don't think this one counts as a screw the audience joke. The Simpsons continued ramping up its usage of wordplay, somehow surpassing last year's Spelling Bee episode. They love their puns about being canonized and Roe versus Wade. They'll do pig Latin subtitles, hippie language gags, jokes about Marge's terrible writing. There's also this weird runner where Marge messes up expressions like shop till we droop and run with the wind. They love terrible acronym jokes like SLAM, Saskatagap, and Papaskatag. Lisa ends up disappointing her father, Ha-o-ma-e-er. Probably my favorite one of these is when Homer makes these bumper stickers for Marge's campaign, printing yes, no, 232. Perfect. Maybe I shouldn't go too overboard on the wordplay stuff, because we all know that music is season 15's true love. Yes, we are still in the Al Jean music montage era, and we've got to be heading toward the peak of the mountain, right? My god, is this thing full of music montages. Homer and Mona bonding, the kids on a chocolate bender, Santa's Little Helper getting laid, treating the kids like garbage, battling robots, Lisa's new identities, Homer and Marge drinking, old people on the beach, running from Dr. Hibbert. And that's not even all of them. There's like one in at least 3/4 of the episodes. I swear, the budget for the season must have been 30% music clearance fees. The characters constantly seem to be breaking into song, like singing Afternoon Delight, or Mr. Bojangles, or from the musical Camelot. Season 15 is practically a jukebox musical. It's a very strong year for Simpsons parody songs too, with The President Wore Pearls being one giant homage to Evita. Then we'll get stuff like the Christmas song parodies, Mozart's opera about farting, and Skinner serenading Edna. Rufy does a great job poking fun at idiotic baby music, and this overly patriotic number is both catchy and biting. The only original I don't really care for is this one, but is kind of saved by Homer afterward continuing to sing, "Okay kids, show off your pipes." Season 15 did back off from that overbearing Hollywood vibe of Season 14. Characters are no longer dating movie stars and hiring musicians to fix their problems. It's really just Today I Am a Clown in this category, and parts of Codependence Day. Instead, we're seeing a return to the Season 4 formula of jam-packing the episodes full of pop culture references, elaborate parodies, and incessant TV watching. I mean, they went to both a museum of television and a comic convention, you're gonna get a lot of references. Act 2 of their Christmas episode is basically one homage after another. Hey, that last one looked pretty good. Probably the weirdest one is in Catch 'Em If You Can, when they just straight up watch 1970s Love Story. I feel like I'm trapped in one of those conversations right now where someone is venting about a movie I have never seen. As far as the guest stars are concerned, Season 15 continued the trend of guest stars playing themselves rather than new characters. And half of the characters were people reprising roles from previous episodes. Charles Napier played 2 brand new characters, Jane Leaves as Homer's half-sister, and Sarah Michelle Gellar in the Juvie episode. Then we have Simon Cowell and Jerry Lewis playing characters directly based on their famous work. That being said, Season 15 isn't one of their more star-studded years in terms of celebrities suddenly dropping into Springfield. We get appearances from Jennifer Garner, Oscar de la Hoya, Michael Moore, Mr. T, Thomas Pynchon, Tom Clancy, William Daniels, Nichelle Nichols, and Matt Groening. When visiting England, they run into Sir Ian McKellen and Tony Blair. However, each of these are brief cameos, and no one sticks around to hijack the story. And now, with the guest stars out of the way, let's go to everyone's favorite segment. Get your Fantasy Simpsons lineups ready, because it is time for the Secondary Character Stock Watch. This year, we have a shakeup at the top of the mountain. For the past few seasons, we'd seen the rise of Moe as the most prominent secondary character. And it's true that Moe is all over Season 15. It's honestly a very Chief Wiggum-like performance in terms of popping up in almost every episode. But after getting Moe Baby Blues last time, the writers gave him a break from really getting involved in the story. It's really just a minor role in The Way We Weren't, a few suicide jokes, and a bunch of brief pop-ins. Instead, I think we gotta give the award to Principal Skinner. He appeared in fewer episodes than Moe, but made a bigger impact overall. He served as the main antagonist in The President Wore Pearls, and had an entire spotlight with Edna Krabappel. In other episodes, he would help kick things off, or step in to provide a helpful solution. I also love his runner in Smart and Smarter, commenting and shutting down all of Lisa's ideas. Whatever you say, Principal Tamzarian. Mr. Burns had a nice bounce-back season, as he got to duke it out with Mona Simpson, Pie Man, and Lisa. He's not in a ton of episodes, but they're doing a good job of keeping him in the picture, even if they're not spending that much time at the plant. Thanks to all the Law and Order storylines, Chief Wiggum became more plot important than usual. I wouldn't say Wiggum ever really achieves anything, mostly he's just there to keep the story moving and then banter with Lou. It's actually a pretty balanced year in terms of how they juggle the secondary characters. There aren't really any losers this year. Like Krusty, Ned Flanders, Grandpa, and Milhouse didn't show up that frequently, but each were featured significantly in 1 or 2 episodes. However, the biggest winner of Season 15 was never in doubt. It's Comic Book Guy. Season 15 loves this dude. Or maybe they really hate him. They made fun of comic book guy's weight so much this year, with jokes about his butt, him ripping his clothes, or Edna sleeping under his giant Spidey shirt. It's kind of annoying once you notice this pattern. It's the same thing over and over. Although just getting this storyline with Edna is a pretty big accomplishment for a minor character like comic book guy, even if all of his appearances are dumping on him. Worst winner ever. As for the Simpson family, let's kick things off with Lisa. Season 15 was a year full of battles for Miss Lisa Simpson. She takes on both the school administration and Mr. Burns, fighting for what she believes in. And then in her personal relationships, we get an anthology story where she's jealous of Bart, an episode where she becomes jealous of Maggie, and becomes bitter when Bart dumps her for Milhouse when he returns. It was the bitter and jealous Lisa year, constantly challenging her self-identity. Also challenging her desire for pet ownership. Bart had kind of a humiliating season 15, to be honest. Naturally, they played up the prankster side of his personality in Treehouse of Horror and anthology segments, but this was a year that liked to kick Bart around. His trip to juvenile hall is one indignity after another. Milhouse embarrasses him when he visits Capital City and gets super depressed about the loss of his friend. In Bart Mangled Banner, Bart ends up going deaf and the world hates him for inadvertently mooning the flag. It felt like a more passive year for Bart overall, where he tags along to support other characters' stories and has very little agency in his own. Marge is easily the most improved of the Simpson family, although that's probably not saying much. Many of her stories revolved around her marriage, but they did a better job this year of showing things from Marge's point of view, exploring her conflicted feelings about her husband's behavior. Obviously, some of these are more effective than others. We get a handful of cute moments where Marge gets excited or has fun with the kids. We even get the more fiery side of her personality this year, calling out God for killing Lisa's cats, angrily kicking Artie out of the house, and defending Bart so vehemently she twists herself into declaring she hates America. Let's just say Marge had a lot of trouble with her words in season 15. And Homer? I would say this is the most Homer-centric year since season 10. He was all over this thing, with his robot battles and his Pie Man adventures. His year was somewhat similar to Bart in terms of the number of beatings he took. His emotions get toyed with regarding Mona and Marge, he feels humiliated after a run-in with a bear, and gets called out for being selfish by his family. Homer frequently gets himself in trouble in season 15 for abandoning his responsibilities or ignoring others' problems. Other than Fraudcast News, you're not going to get supportive Homer very much. And Codependence Day kinda taints his season as a whole. Still, setting that debacle aside, I think it's a pretty well-balanced portrayal of Homer, punishing him for his bad behavior in some cases and subverting our expectations in others. As a whole, I've always viewed season 15 as the maturation year in Al Jean's tenure as showrunner. Season 13 was so transitional after Scully, and season 14 was pretty up and down, eventually figuring out the new vibe. Season 15 doesn't feel like a huge evolution of what came before, instead feeling like a year of small refinements and tonal shifts. Of every retrospective thus far, seasons 14 and 15 are the most similar in terms of overall style. I think what truly makes season 15 different is that it took all those stylistic hallmarks of season 14 and decided to go after the big issues. The show stopped living in this magical fantasy land and actually challenged the Simpson family with real problems again. No more relaxing dude ranch vacations and rock and roll fantasy camp. If Homer's going to camp, he's gonna work for it, dang it. As a result, I don't think season 15 is as fun as the previous year, but there's more substance to it. The characters have to work harder for their happy endings. The conflicts between the characters feel more real and relatable, getting closer to the roots of their issues and the consequences of their actions. That's why I joked at the beginning that this is the designated driver season. There's a conscientiousness to season 15 that we haven't gotten in a while. Let me know in the comments your view of season 15 and its overall vibe. Do you think it's dramatically different from season 14? Is the Al Jean era continuing to evolve, or is it settling into its final form? Maybe nothing will change and the season 16 retrospective will only be 5 minutes long. We'll see. I'll be back next time for the top 10 list, once I figure out what's gonna land at number 1. There are 2 or 3 episodes that are really neck and neck. I'll give you a clue, it's not Codependence Day. As always, thanks for watching.